member for Eglinton Lawrence.
Mr. Speaker, June marks Italian Heritage Month in Canada, and today we also recognize Festa del Repubblica, Italian Republic Day, a time to celebrate the rich culture, history, and enduring spirit of Italy and its people. Almost 1.6 million Italian Canadians proudly call this country home. Many came to Canada with nothing, yet through grit and hard work, helped build our cities, infrastructure, and our communities. In my riding of Eglinton Lawrence, we're proud to be home to a large Italian-Canadian community, with the Columbus Center and Villa Charities at Dufferin and Lawrence standing as the cultural and social heart of the community. Italian Canadians have contributed not only to our past, but continue to shape our future through younger generations who serve Canada with dedication and passion. To all celebrating Buona Festa della Repubblica and Happy Italian Heritage Month, grazie mille, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Calgary, Midnapore.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister continues to talk out of both sides of his mouth when it comes to Canadian energy. He says he wants Canada to be an energy superpower, but then says it can only be done with national consensus. He says he wants to greenlight projects, but then presents an approval process of a minimum of 2 years. He says he wants provinces to present a list of ready-to-go projects, but then comes out of yesterday's meeting with no list. How sad is it that premiers are just happy to meet with an adult after 10 years of the last guy, but he is no more serious when it comes to taking the necessary steps to unleash our energy sector. Mr. Prime Minister, if you're really committed to national unity and want to make us the economic engine of the G7, it starts with repealing a decade of anti-energy laws. C-69, C-48, the production cap, and the industrial carbon tax, get rid of them.
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, don't be afraid. I still hear those words in my head from my first boss. I got into politics after the death of René Lévesque, when I saw that Jacques Parizeau was getting back into politics as well. I became responsible for youth in the Parti Québécois. And I've understood now to what extent these great men have marked the history of Quebec. Jacques Parizeau wrote many pages in the history of the Quebec. He was the architect of a great economy, a great nation. After an election campaign marked by the use of Quebecers' fears, don't be afraid, was his key idea. 10 years after his death, I want to honor Monsieur Jacques Parizeau.
Member for London West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 4 years ago in London, Ontario, the Asdal family was targeted and killed in a horrific act of Islamophobic violence. This was not only an attack on a Muslim family, it was an attack on the very foundation of our shared democracy, our right to live, to walk, and to belong without fear. In the wake of the tragedy, Londoners responded with unity. Canadians across our country demanded not just remembrance, but resolve. Mr. Speaker, building a resilient society means that embedding safety, equity, and trust into our institutions. It means that we ensure that public spaces are truly public, and that no child ever never fears walking on a sidewalk because of how they pray, how they look, and how they live. Our job now is to strengthen our systems that protect our democracy through education, through policy, and action grounded in evidence and justice. Now, in this House, we have to honor the Asdal family by building a Canada where everyone feels safe because everyone belongs. And that's not just compassion, Mr. Speaker, it's our national strength. Thank you.
The honourable member for Richmond Hill South.
Mr. Speaker, since 2016, over 50,000 Canadians have died from the Liberal-sponsored opioid crisis. Over 80% of accidental opioid deaths involve fentanyl, and it takes just 2 milligrams of fentanyl to kill someone. The Liberals legalized possession of 2,500 milligrams of fentanyl. That means possessing 1,200 lethal doses is permitted. This is not the public health solution the Liberals make it out to be. It is a public safety threat that is ripping up communities all across Canada. And what's the Liberal response? Recently, the Prime Minister said that the fentanyl crisis is not a crisis at all and downplayed it as a mere challenge. Conservatives are calling for mandatory life imprisonment for anyone involved in the trafficking, production, and distribution of over 40 milligrams of fentanyl. Make no mistake, mass fentanyl production is mass murder, and the fentanyl kingpins should be locked up and treated as mass murderers that they are. It's time to invest in treatment and recovery and to bring our loved ones home drug-free.
Hear, hear. The honourable member for London Centre.
In the long and storied history of the London Knights franchise, a new chapter was written just a few days ago. Memorial Cup champions, Mr. Speaker. All of Canada. They are also champions of the Ontario Hockey League. This is an incredible franchise. Alumni include Darryl Sittler, Patrick Kane, one of my favorites, little talked about, but Kelly Kane and Chris Taylor, Mitch Marner, Matthew Tkachuk, Brendan Shanahan, Dino Ciccarelli, and many more. And this year's team stands on the shoulders of those giants and many more. It is a testament to their hard work, to their dedication, their hard work, but also their family's commitment as well, that they put the effort they put in, and they have the success that they've now enjoyed. Mr. Speaker, finally, in London, we really hold up high the example of the Hunter brothers, Dale and Mark Hunter, owners of the team, who took it over about 20 years ago and took it over in a very difficult time. What we have now is an incredible franchise. No small part goes to them. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Terra Nova, the Peninsula.
Mr. Speaker, in Newfoundland and Labrador, we take care of each other. That's who we are. But today, too many of our neighbors are being left behind. As of January, 360 people, yes, men, women, and even children, are experiencing homelessness in my province. And it gets worse. There are nearly 200 youth waiting on a list with nowhere to go, while the only emergency shelter in our capital is full every single night. And yet, they have even less resources in rural areas. That's our future, stuck in the dark. And in just 1 year, housing prices have jumped nearly $23,500. That might not sound like a lot to a Bay Street banker, but to a young couple in Marystown, that's the difference between hope and despair. We already have the highest unemployment rate in the country, and now we have a housing crisis to match. Mr. Speaker, many people are starting to ask, when will the tents be on sale?
The honourable member for Alfred Bellon. Mr. Speaker, the Festa de la Repubblica, celebrated on June 2nd, represents the courage, strength, and hope of the people who chose freedom and democracy. 79 years ago, the birth of the Italian Republic marked the beginning of a new relationship between Canada and Italy. Two countries which have forged deep ties based on respect and cooperation. This morning, we marked this important day by raising the Italian flag on Parliament Hill. This ceremony is a powerful symbol of our shared history. As someone with Italian roots, which I share with nearly 20% of my constituents, this holiday symbolizes our precious cultural heritage. It allows us to pay tribute to Canada's Italian community, whose commitment, perseverance, and family values continue to strengthen our society. We are united in celebration.
Viva Italia! Viva la libertà!
The honourable member for Newmarket Aurora.
This week, the Prime Minister introduced his first spending bill for the coming fiscal year, called the Main Estimate. He promised to spend less. Instead, he's spending more, a lot more. In fact, this bill proposes 8% more spending than Justin Trudeau's final year in office. That means that overall government spending is set to grow nearly 3 times faster than inflation and population combined. Seniors, moms, small businesses all have to budget before they spend. Why can't this Prime Minister do the same?
This is record-breaking waste. Consultant spending has ballooned to $26 billion. That's a 36% increase in 1 year. $1,400 in taxes per household just for consultants. Worst of all, hours after he stood up in the House and promised to cap spending growth at 2%, the Liberals introduced a bill that grows it by 8%. Canadians deserve better than broken promises and blank checks.
The honourable member for Winnipeg South.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak about the devastating wildfire crisis unfolding across Manitoba and Western Canada. Over 100 fires are burning, many of them out of control. Communities like Flin Flon, Lynn Lake, and Pimachikamak Cree Nation are under mandatory evacuation orders, displacing an estimated 17,000 Manitobans. The scale of these fires is immense, destroying homes and infrastructure, as well as disrupting every aspect of community life. Mr. Speaker, let us extend our deepest gratitude to the firefighters, emergency responders, and volunteers working tirelessly on the front lines to battle the flames that surround many of our northern communities. Their courage and commitment are nothing short of heroic. Finally, Mr. Speaker, let us also ensure that all orders of government are working together to provide seamless support for evacuees as they wait for a safe return home when the danger has passed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions orales, oral questions. The honourable member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
Mr. Speaker, Parliament demanded a budget from this Liberal government. Last night, a Conservative motion passed calling on the Prime Minister to table a budget this spring. The Liberals are asking Parliament to approve $500 billion in Liberal spending with no budget. Despite promising to spend less and cap government spending at 2%, they've increased it by 8%. Single moms, seniors, small business owners must budget before they spend. Parliament wants these Liberals to do the same. Will the minority Liberal government listen to the majority in this House and table a budget immediately?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this week was a great week for the London Knights. It was a greater week for the country of Canada. Every First Minister in Canada, from Quebec, from the provinces, from the territories, Government of Canada agreed on a plan to build Canada strong. One Canadian economy out of 13. That's
The honourable member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
Thanks for the update, but what about a budget? Canadians deserve real fiscal management, not excuses or fact-free talking points. And here's some of the facts. Liberal consultant spending is expected to rise 35% to $26 billion, breaking their promise to cut down on consultants. Fact. Wow. Liberals promised $20 billion in elbows up U.S. tariffs, but later dropped them with no regard to affected Canadian workers or fiscal impacts. Fact. The majority of this chamber voted last night for a spring budget. Fact. On what date will the Liberals face the facts and table a budget for their $500 billion in new spending?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the First Ministers agreed on a plan to build this great country. Stand up to Donald Trump. Fact. That's right. Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada is imposing tariffs that cause maximum impact on the United States, minimum impact on Canada. Fact. On over $60 billion of U.S. exports to Canada. Fact. Raised over $1.7 billion already. Fact, fact, fact.
The honourable member for Edmonton West.
$73 billion spent while Parliament was shut down by this government. A spending package of $500 billion with a record $26 billion for Liberal-friendly consultants like McKinsey, and no oversight or scrutiny from Parliament. Well, this House has had enough. Last night, the House passed our Conservative motion calling on the Prime Minister to table a spring budget. Will the Prime Minister respect the will of Parliament and table a budget immediately so Canadians in this Parliament can have the transparency we deserve?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we take note of last night's motion. But what Canadians deserve, what Canadian provinces deserve, is a health care transfer. Is a transfer for child care. Is a transfer for dental care. Is a transfer to support affordability. That's what's in the main estimates, and we expect the support of members opposite.
The right honourable member for Edmonton West.
Mr. Speaker, I realize he's new here, but all those things would be in a budget. He'd be paperwork. This government is going to spend a staggering $26 billion on high-priced, liberal-friendly consultants, an eye-watering $1,400 for every Canadian family. They'll present no budget, no departmental plans, and zero transparency. They won't even stand in this House and tell Canadians what the deficit will be this year. Will the Liberals come clean, table the spring budget as this House has demanded?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the member opposite, I know the difference between main estimates and budget. Unlike the member opposite, I know how to grow. Unlike the member opposite, I know how to grow this economy.
Whenever things get to the point where I can't hear, that's when I stand up and halt time. So would the Right Honourable Prime Minister like to back up a bit and take another run at it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will speak softly. Unlike the member opposite, I know the difference between a main estimate and a budget. And unlike the members opposite, we know how to grow this economy without spending money. And that's why we're proposing a bill to build one Canadian economy out of 13. And all the provinces and Quebec agree.
The honourable member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, our motion calling on the government to table a budget this spring was passed yesterday. So the Liberals have to respect this Parliament and table a budget this spring. The Liberals want a blank check, and they want approval to spend over $1.5 billion without us knowing what the financial situation really is. During the election campaign, they promised to limit spending to 2%, but instead they're increasing it by 8%. This government has already shown that they deceived Canadians. Will the minority Liberals listen to the majority in Parliament and table a budget this spring? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the motion, we take due note of the motion, but we agreed with the Premier of Quebec that the best way to increase growth in Canada is to have one Canadian economy, not 13. The honourable member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister probably didn't understand my question. The motion calls on this Liberal government to table a budget this spring, and they've only got 18 days left to do that. A good, responsible manager uses a budget to determine what the spending capacity is. If our families, seniors, and SMEs acted like this government, they'd be bankrupt. The Liberals said they wanted to cut spending, but they're increasing consulting contracts to $26 billion. The Liberals must listen to Parliament. When will they present a budget to justify their $500 million in spending? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, there will be a budget that will increase support for seniors, for children, for childcare, for all of Canada. But for the time being, we will be boosting growth in this country with a bill to create a strong economy. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, I'm curious. Yesterday, there was a bit of a love-in in Saskatoon. There are stages to a love-in, but at that love-in, there was an interesting project that would be for a pipeline to take oil not from Alberta to St. John, New Brunswick through Quebec, but rather to Hudson's Bay. So what does the Prime Minister think of that odd proposal? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There were a lot of projects that we discussed yesterday in Saskatoon. Yes, it was a big love-in because all the premiers want to work hard and to keep working hard for our country and for our economy. And those projects include major projects in Quebec in critical minerals and green energy. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. The last time there was such a big love-in was in Quebec, and a lot of people were taken by that. We remember that. I don't remember ever seeing Mr. Trudeau and Ms. Smith meeting in any kind of paradise. But is there any effort being made to find a market in Europe, or is there any effort being made to develop refineries to refine heavy crude in Western Canada? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we haven't decided yet what projects are in the national interest. We had a big conversation. Yes, it's true. Can I keep going? Mr. Speaker. But there has to be standards, environmental standards, and it has to have a big impact on the growth of our economy. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, that's not saying much, but there was one thing I saw. Will the Prime Minister officially commit to respect the Quebec Environmental Assessment Agency if Hudson's Bay is not an option? Will the Prime Minister commit to respect the decisions of the BAP? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I discussed this with the Quebec Premier and the other premiers. We discussed the possibility and, in fact, the need to have commitments and to have cooperation agreements when it comes to environmental standards. And we will conclude those deals in the months to come.
Mr. Speaker, last night this House delivered a clear verdict. The Liberal government must table a budget. Now, this Prime Minister is asking Canadians to blindly approve over $500 billion in spending with no plan, no transparency, and no accountability. This Prime Minister has promised to cap spending at 2%, then shattered that promise and jacked it up by 8%. What do Canadians get in return? Soaring debt, higher inflation, and zero economic leadership. Will the government stop the reckless spending, respect the will of this House, and table a budget?
Excellent question.
Honorable Ministre des Finances.
Mr. Speaker, there was a vote yesterday, but there's another vote coming in the coming days, Mr. Speaker. This is a vote where we'll see the true color of the Conservative, Mr. Speaker, because this is the motion in which we're cutting tax for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Canadians who live in this riding, they will be watching at home to see will the Conservative be there to have the back of Canadians, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you we'll be watching from this side. Canadian will be watching at home, and we all expect this House to say together, yes, we have the back in Canadian, and we'll give them a tax break.
Honourable member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Last night, our Conservative motion passed demanding a budget from this Prime Minister this spring. After a decade of Liberal delay and decline in Northwest Territories, their economy is in trouble. Since 2015, mining, quarrying, oil and gas extraction down 16%, construction down 43%, the energy sector down 54%. Economist Graham Clinton writes, as the mines close over the next 3 to 8 years and nothing replaces them, we can expect a much smaller economy than we have today. The Northwest Territories can't afford any more of your empty promises, Prime Minister. What's your plan?
L'honorable ministre des Finances.
Speaker, on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we understand that Canada's strength when it comes to the economy of the future. Mr. Speaker, we're attracting talent. We have very large industry. This is a country that builds cars, that builds planes, that builds automobiles. Mr. Speaker, this is the country which has critical mineral. This is the country which has renewable energy and conventional energy. This is the only country of the G7 which has a free trade agreement with all the other G7 nations. Mr. Speaker, we have what the world needs, and we'll be there to build a superpower economically for this country and Canadians and for generations to come.
The honourable member for Kapuskasing Timmins Mushkegowuk.
Mr. Speaker, Parliament is demanding a budget from this Liberal government. For example, to cap spending at 2%, they increased it by 8%. Rather than cut spending on consultants, they increased it by 35%. To a record-smashing $26 billion. Wow. Last night, a Conservative motion was passed calling the Prime Minister to issue a budget this spring. The Liberals are asking Parliament to approve a $500 million in Liberal spending without budget. Will the minority Liberal government listen to the majority Parliament and issue the budget immediately?
L'honorable ministre des Finances.
Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said, we take note of the vote yesterday. But, Mr. Speaker, what I can say to the member, and I welcome into this House, let's focus on what the main estimates are doing for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. They're supporting childcare in this country, Mr. Speaker. They're supporting pharmacare in this country. They're supporting dental care, Mr. Speaker. What they're doing, they're supporting Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Canadians have asked this House to work for them. Canadians have asked us to be ambitious. Canadians have asked us to build Canada strong. This is what we're going to do with this Prime Minister.
The honourable member for Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, the House has spoken. Parliament is demanding a budget this spring. The Liberals have already broken their promise of a spending cap. A budget is more than a big book of spending. It tells us how much it's going to cost. How much are they going to raise taxes? How much are they going to borrow? The Liberals have no plan to manage the debt. Mr. Speaker, will the Liberal minority government listen to the majority of Parliament and table a budget this spring?
The Honourable Minister of Transport and Internal Trade.
Mr. Speaker, our government does have a plan, and that plan is what we discussed yesterday in Saskatoon with the premiers from across the country. I do have to agree with the leader of the bloc. It was a love-in, and it was a love-in because the premiers, Liberals, Conservatives, NDP, agree now is the time to build Canada, to build one Canadian economy. It will add $200 billion to our economy. All of us in this House should support that.
The honourable member for Sarnia-Lambton, Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday our motion to have the government table a budget this spring was passed here in this House. The Liberals wanted us to approve $486 billion of spending with no plan. $20 billion of that revenue was supposed to come from the elbows-up counter tariffs, but secretly, during the election, the Prime Minister and Cabinet signed the order to cancel them while telling Canadians they were still going to fight with dollar-for-dollar tariffs. Right. So, will the Prime Minister listen to Parliament, table a spring budget, and explain where the extra $20 billion is going to come from?
The Honourable Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday's meeting was a great show of national unity. It was a proud day for Canadians. In the words of Premier Ford, when our country comes under attack from President Trump, we unite and we're a resilient country. And everyone realizes that if we don't move, we'll be left behind, and the consequences will be 10 times worse. Canada's new government is acting to make Canada an energy superpower. It would be great if the Conservatives helped us in this.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
Mr. Speaker, good news. Last night the Conservatives passed a motion calling on the Prime Minister to issue a budget this spring. This as Trump is threatening to double the tariffs on steel to 50%. That would put Hamilton Steel and steelworkers out of business. The Prime Minister promised he would collect $20 billion in tariffs from the United States. There's no $20 billion, there's no tariffs. Will the Prime Minister listen to Parliament, table a budget, and show us how's he going to make up that $20 billion?
L'Honorable Ministre de l'Industrie.
Speaker, at a time where we are in a trade war and we know that our steel and aluminum workers are worried, we're standing up for them. And we will continue to make sure that we fight by having strong counter tariffs, that we protect our workers, and we will build through very strong, major national projects. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable, Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister the tariffs are jeopardizing the jobs of thousands of steel and aluminum.
Is my audio? Oh, sorry, the audio's been on the whole time. Sorry. Hey, luckily you guys. I just don't want to. I want to think. I'll tell you what's happening and how the Liberals are going back on it, and they're talking about projects and trying to build unity. I'll tell you, I think that it's a new government, and the way that their rhetoric is, it's really good. And sorry about earlier, damn camera. I'm late today, but I have to restart. But I tell you, I'm really impressed with how they're doing this this question period. It's a different animal than last time. I'm going to go back to at least. So we're a little bit behind on time. Thanks for watching.
Speaker, one thing is clear, the majority of Canadians voted for us. But beyond that, what's important for my colleagues to understand is that we are there to support workers in the aluminum industry. The Prime Minister and I myself have committed to speak to players in the aluminum industry and the steel industry and the unions. We've been there since the outset with this tariff war, and we imposed counter tariffs, we fought, and we're also committed to protecting workers and building Canada. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, instead of talking about pipeline projects that belong in the last century, the Prime Minister should have been talking aluminum with his counterparts. Tomorrow, we find out whether Donald Trump follows through on his threat to double tariffs. But support for our industry was not on the agenda at the Premier's meeting. Not a word in the budget either. Aluminum has been hit with tariffs since March. They'll probably double tomorrow, and the Liberals have still not offered any help. We have a right to know now. What's the plan if the tariffs are doubled? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, on Sunday night I was in Montreal at the Aluminum Summit. We spoke with stakeholders in that industry and the Quebec Industry Minister. Obviously, what's happening with aluminum is very worrisome, and so we will be there to help both companies and workers and unions. We are going to use Canadian aluminum and steel in our major infrastructure projects. We're going to defend our industries and jobs in those industries, and we will also diversify our international trade. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte-Acton. Mr. Speaker, when Ontario's auto industry was threatened with tariffs, Ottawa rushed in with $2 billion. Quebec's aluminum industry has been hit with tariffs for 3 months now, and yet not a penny of support has been given. Ottawa should already have provided direct assistance to the industry and redistributed the proceeds of the counter tariffs. In 24 hours, Donald Trump could double his tariffs and still nothing for Quebec aluminum. The Liberals were elected on tariffs. How come they're not ready today? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Contrary to what my colleagues said, I was in Bécancour just 2 weeks ago to meet with the leaders and union leaders and workers. I met with Rio Tinto Alcan because obviously this is of concern to the Lac Saint-Jean area. So we are protecting our investments and jobs. And there's also money being provided through the regional economic development agencies in Quebec and in my colleagues' riding. We are creating jobs and supporting businesses as we speak.
Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, for a decade, the Liberal government's anti-energy agenda has driven away Canadian jobs and investment. The consequences is clear. Building energy projects will boost our economy, reduce reliance on the United States, and create good-paying jobs for Canadians. Yet, the only thing still standing in the way is this Liberal government. At a time when our economy needs strengthening, will the Liberals finally approve and build a pipeline?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, on Monday, the Prime Minister and the Premiers agreed to work together to accelerate major projects in order to build a strong, resilient, and united Canada. A Conservative Premier, Premier Ford, said, "This has been the best meeting in 10 years. Canada's new government will fast-track projects of national interest, guarantee decisions within 2 years, while respecting Indigenous rights and the duty to consult. There is no question this government will make Canada an energy superpower." I hope you'll get on board.
The Honourable Member for Battleford's Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, it is this Liberal government's anti-energy policies that are blocking critical energy projects in this country. C-69, no new pipelines law. C-48, the shipping ban, the job-killing oil and gas cap, and the industrial carbon.
I'll tell you, I think I'm the rhetoric out of the Conservative. It's not working on me. I think there's already talk about going the Manitoba route to the Hudson Bay. That's enough, like them to push the unity of the country, to force it to go a pipeline everywhere which way is just there's no taste for it. And the Conservatives, to me, they're like, you know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like the Alberta Party. I'm sorry, I'm cutting it off. I'm going to put it back. But I'll tell you, this rhetoric is making me. I believe that the Liberals are. I would have voted for him if
carbon
this was
tax,
I knew.
all of which are driving away investment and killing Canadian energy development. If the Prime Minister is serious about his so-called build, baby, build, will the Liberal government repeal its anti-energy agenda to get vital energy projects built?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
If the Honourable Member was listening to the Premier of Alberta yesterday, she talked about a grand bargain. She talked about a grand bargain to build our energy superpower in a responsible, environmentally responsible way in consultation with First Nations. We hope you'll get on board.
The Honourable Member for Yorkton Melville.
Speaker, help me square a circle here. Canadians were told that the Liberal Party had changed. They heard that a new government under this Prime Minister would bolster Canada's resource economy so that we can compete toe-to-toe with the Americans. Just 1 month later, Canadians see how empty those promises were. The no new pipelines law, the shipping ban, the job-killing oil and gas production cap, and the industrial carbon tax all remain in place. When will the Liberal government repeal their damaging anti-energy agenda so that private energy investment will reignite in Canada?
The Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Clearly, they were not listening to the premiers yesterday. We met and they said, I'll quote Premier Holt, "I think this is a critical time for unity," and I couldn't agree more. We will work with the Premier's Indigenous peoples, and we will fast-track projects to guarantee them done within 2 years. We support new pipelines if there is a national consensus. We will work together, and we will make Canada an energy superpower.
L'honorable député de Louis.
The
It's not. Okay, again, this is it. National, I tell you, I think this question period, I'm like seeing a eureka moment. And it's, hey, governments flip and flop. And I have always said, I'm on the side of the working class. I'm not on the side of a party in a sense forever. Like majority of Canadians, they go from conservative to liberal. And most of the time are liberal, as you can tell by the voting record. What I'm seeing out of, I'm repeating myself, but I'm actually a little bit, I'm turned off. That's actually not the right word. It's a bad taste in the mouth. This Alberta thing, it's the swear to God, every single argument, I'm yelling, sorry to yell. Every single argument by the Conservatives has been make Alberta oil. Well, British Columbians don't, on majority, not all, on a majority, don't want to see pipelines. They don't want to see the oil industry like it's they don't see the oil industry as a God-given thing because it brings in money. There's a lot of disaster that comes with the oil industry. Pipelines bursting, never mind the fact that beautiful BC gets their money. I'm sorry, I'm yelling again. But Quebec, as a super duper majority, does not. And there was about a month window where there was some polling that people were saying they were willing to look at it. That is not a real poll. That's just a poll that people are like, well, we're willing to look at it for the unity of the country. That month has passed 2 months ago. The Quebec, you go right now in the polling, Quebec doesn't want to see oil. They have no interest in oil. It's the most. I was there. Knew some Quebecers like 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago now. Wow, I'm old. And they were like very anti-oil then, and it's only increased since then. There's no interest for oil. So this idea that you want to have the federal government, it's like, where's your money, their lobby coming from? I understand a lot of these are from the oil patch, but you're a federal party, and the provincial government of Alberta is talking about disunity, destroying, making it easier to rip up the nation because of pipelines. Oil is only about 25% of the profit of Alberta. It could get up to about 40%, but as everything else increases, and that's only if all the stars align, and that's on Alberta. So I'm just trying to put it in perspective. But the real thing is, this is a voting country, that democratic country, and there's 2 provinces that are dead set. Oh, sorry, wrong word. That are, they're right against it as a majority. And then in Ontario, it's not. It's you know what I mean. It depends. Just because the economics in the country are bad doesn't mean people are like, well, we don't care about the piece of our environment, or promoting an industry that is long. Honestly, it's already passed. The thing is Canada, we're actually falling behind the technologies of the day because China actually has it. And I don't say this lightly, as you know, who followed I actually got canceled for following the foreign interference on China. But China has $10,000 cars, 500 to 700 kilometers on a charge, quick battery changes in 30 seconds. Gas is only now, to me, I think you just Google this. Like the BVD cars are amazing. They're amazing cars. And hey, I love our industry. I think factory work is important. I think we have to steal, copy, whatever the hell we can do to get Chinese technology on cars. And I think we should help incentivize the car companies, because those jobs are important to me. Incentivize these car companies to make flying vehicles, obviously AI driven. I'm pausing for a while. I know you don't. I hear a lot. They don't want to hear me. But my original point is the Conservatives are like as if oil is the only thing, and that the only thing that they can talk about is oil and pipelines. And the Liberals just said, Mark Carney, we're open to it. We're open to fast-tracking it if there's money behind it. They're not putting and I don't think we should put government money. When you have the percentage of people against the pipeline and the oil industry in the country that high, at least 30%, it's probably up higher to 40%. If you had the fence, you know what I mean? The fence people, like I am. I think I'm a fence sitter on oil. As I'm leaning more and more towards Lincoln, like, okay, yeah, oil, whatever. If someone wants to invest in the 1911 technology, fine. But the idea that the government money, when we have a housing crisis, we should be putting money into profitable companies of oil, which is a disastrous industry, by the way. How many? Just Google this. How many derelict wells are there in Alberta right now? These companies close up, and then the people have to pay for it to clean up. They run out of oil, then they close up the shop, and then there you go. It's a very big problem, and they're not dealing with it. They're just basically, you know what I mean? It'll fix itself. It'll close itself in, and then it'll fix itself. That's basically the answer. What I believe is what they're doing, which isn't an answer at all, because there's an annulus, there's a concrete, and it's a special type of concrete that just doesn't deteriorate, that you pump down the pipe and into it. Like I said, I worked in the oil industry, and I really enjoy the work, but there's some fishiness going on with it. And it's the Conservatives, to me, if you want to be a federal party, you have to talk about other issues and stuff like that. And the Liberals have actually, I'm telling you, it's like a eureka moment. No, that's again, without running down the street. It's a moment that, like, this Liberal government is going and trying to open up development responsibly, not just push the will of the people out of the way that don't want to see oil. And they remember that they tariff the crap out of Chinese cars to save an industry, to save the oil-driven car industry right now. And it's everywhere you go, I see on X. I'm tired of seeing it now. Oh, no one wants to buy an electric vehicle. Okay, whatever. They're a little bit, I think they're higher priced here. The technology isn't here. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry that you don't agree with me, people, and a lot of people aren't agreeing with me on this. You seem to be all, whatever. But the Liberal Party, to me, has moved in the direction where they need to be, and they're doing a damn good job of it. And they're not in the Conservative Party, not all. But Colley was talking about the budget earlier, and that's it. But I'll say about 70% so far has been all about one thing, pipelines and oil, which is aggravating a large portion of online, which means nothing, and it's aggravating the unity of the country for one industry. And the reality is, it's an industry that's actually seriously passed. It literally has passed. But of course, it's not the cutting edge. It's, you know what I mean? It's on the other side of the razor's edge. To me, it's an awful thing to put taxpayer money into something that it's an industry that's, electric vehicles.
Honourable Member for Louis-Saint-Laurent-Akiwanrock. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in Quebec, more and more people are in favor of building pipelines. And it's not surprising. We've had pipelines in Quebec since 1942. And in 2012, a pipeline was built from Lévis to Montreal. It crosses the St. Lawrence. And it's so effective and safe that no one even seems to know it's there. But what we do know is that building energy projects helps the Canadian economy thrive. I have a question for the Minister of Heritage. Will he say yes to pipeline projects in Quebec and Canada? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, my colleague should be proud as a proud Canadian. Yesterday we had a great day for Canada. The Quebec Premier was there with his colleagues, and we talked about Canada energy corridors to make Canada a global energy superpower. Quebec has a great deal to offer Canada in this regard. It has expertise in hydroelectricity. It also has expertise in wind energy and environmental measures. We will become an energy superpower in a responsible and fair way. Together, we will build Canada. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Heritage should know that pipeline number 1 is a historic site in Canada. It led to the Canadian oil boom. The Minister of Heritage should be proud of this heritage. Earlier, we heard the Minister talk about hydro. Does he know that Bill C-69 gives the federal government veto power on hydro projects? How can Canada develop to its full potential if the federal government doesn't stick to its own business? The Honourable Minister of Finance. I'd like to thank my colleague. Yes, Quebec has an important role to play. It will be able to develop to its full potential in the area of hydro. It is a North American leader, and even global leader, in hydroelectricity. We should all be proud as Quebecers to follow Quebec's example. We should be proud of the fact that we can develop our natural resources in a fair, responsible, and effective manner. Quebec has always been an energy leader. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to draw inspiration from that. Thank you.
Member for Sault Ste.
Okay. Again, this is like, okay, Guilbeault. I have all kinds of Guilbeault clips and photos I've done. No more roads and all this stuff. I personally have his radical thing of doing criminal acts to highlight what he believes is a political mess. Okay, that I believe. Okay, fine, he has that thing, but I don't like the way he had gone about it in the past, the criminal aspect of it. I know climbing and vandalism and stuff like that isn't a big deal, but to me, I don't agree with that type. I don't even agree. I'm not even a big protest person, because they always get. A lot of times they get encapsulated or whatever. They get captured by outside, by people, by outside forces that aren't necessarily true in spirit. So the idea of trying to call out Guilbeault to say something stupid, that's a clip about what, pipelines? Like I said, the consensus, it's like over, at least the last I've seen, over 80% of Quebecers are not for pipelines. So why would a Quebec MP try to call out Guilbeault, who's been shuffled to culture? Why would a Quebec MP worry about a minister that has nothing to do with that file anymore? He's been handily put in the corner. And unless it seems to be they're aggravating it for the oil industry, it's like you know what I mean? I'll tell you right now today. Macaulay was the exception thus far today, and he had some pretty good sparring with the Prime Minister today. But it's like it's the oil party, the Alberta party. What the heck is this? Are they turning into the Bloc Québécois of Alberta and Saskatchewan? Maybe it seems like that's what they're trying to do, and this to me, it's unbecoming of a federal party. And calling out Guilbeault, who's been pushed in the corner like I have. It's like calling me out. Like, come on. I got 9. How many people here? 4 people watching. Every time I talk, there's a group of people that are literally trying to twist my words and what I do. And it's like calling me. I got nothing here. You know what I mean? It's like, don't you have a real job to do? It's the idea of like worrying about a puddle when there's a lake being dumped into right now. That's what's happening, and I believe there's an oil lobby that's paid the Conservative. That's my only belief why they're doing it, and it to me is like every question it's putting me, and I think not just me, more people that aren't angry and don't want to like just scream at people, and I'm sorry for yelling, into the Liberal Party camp. Like, unless that's their goal. If that's their goal, it's working. Help unity by having people go to the sensibility. It's just calling out. And now listen, Del Tello, who's from CBC, I like a lot of his rhetoric, especially in French. He has very good command of the language. Some people You know, just like this in any language. But he's really, really good with the good command of the language. I know where there's a translation that we're using, but it's the thing. Basically, last time I'm saying it, you know what I mean. Every time I talk, oh, Ann Harvey, people in Niagara Falls, hopefully sending people to Niagara Falls. Oops. The wildfires. The wildfires is in Manitoba, and there you go. The idea is basically the Conservatives have decided for trying their best to destroy the nation for political points or clicks on X. And X, well, we know what just happened to X and Doge. I recommend you watch Jon Stewart last night, how Elon got doged. It was hilarious. It's hilarious. Because, like you said, how he came in and how he is out. And he's, like you said, so you're not going to tell us then. And if you watch the clip, it's on YouTube. So you're not going to tell us then is exactly hilarious, and it's most likely, you know what I mean. His joke there is so true. The Conservatives and the left, I mean the right in America a little bit, not all of it. I think Trump is more Democratic than he likes to say. He's in rhetoric he's leans towards a Republican, but in action, real, you know what I mean. I believe that. Wholeheartedly, but people are so much in their camp they can't see the forest through the trees. But there's people around Trump that don't get it, and if you haven't noticed, I shouldn't say this, but if you haven't noticed, those people that are on the fringe of that, they start to keep falling off the wayside. They've done things very incorrectly, and there's no saving them. If you go too extreme, it seems that, you know what I mean? The Democratic willpower is actually, I'm seeing it. I know that Trump, of course, and some of his rhetoric is off taste. However, there's been a few of people that they've been humiliated, and those that are towing a decent person line like Hodges is decent, centrist. Sensible line, I'll call it. They haven't been having any issues. If you think about it, I'm just saying. This is what I've noticed, and this is all I do. So I don't.
To say Mario Goma for his question is hard work. And of course, I too want to wish Lisa a happy birthday. He knows that a strong border means increased security and prosperity. The Strong Borders Act will combat organized crime, protect the integrity of our immigration system, equip law enforcement with the tools they need, and yes, strengthen our border. Strong borders mean safer streets, Mr. Speaker. Canada's new government is cracking down on fentanyl.
Okay, I don't know what's happening. I'll have to reboot a second here. But as I was saying before I cut myself off, it looks possibly like the Conservatives are just trying to go for a smaller and smaller, angry, very vocal, and throwing money at the problem. Very vocal and throwing money at the problem section of society.
For putting their trust in me.
I'm definitely. I'll tell you, and I don't like this. I had spent 5 years conservative camp rhetoric, and now they don't care about me. Obviously, I'm a schmuck to them, right? Obviously,
we will start
I'm
over with that question. The Honourable Member for Charles Saint Charles. Mr. Speaker, this
I don't know. Sorry, I'm just gonna. That's where we were. The Conservative Party about a pipeline is the only thing. Well, pipelines come with private money, and if you have it's like, is there companies that are lobbying them and paying them, and that's what what the party is reduced to, as a lobbyist for the oil industry. Wow. It just, to me, is like, wow. And literally at the end of oil, you're thinking, listen, we don't have good light tight oil. The best oil in the world is coming from Saudi Arabia, Iran. It comes out as beautiful. Actually, there's some of Venezuela too, but it comes out as beautiful. They have low processing. Well, here we have a high amount of processing. Attack on my channel. I don't know. My internet seems to be. Okay, back connected. It seems that the oil lobby has won, and I'll let them play.
Has become a nightmare of debt and default. New Liberal housing data shows that nearly 1 in 5 new homeowners missed a mortgage payment.
This is something.
1 in 4 are using debt to pay for debt, and over 60% are concerned they won't be able to make any payments at all. With no budget and no plan in sight, but over $500 billion in new proposed spending, can the Minister of Housing tell first-time home buyers how much their mortgage payments will increase because of this government's inflationary spending?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the member opposite for giving me an opportunity to highlight the importance of our GST cut for first-time home buyers.
Good point, Gregor.
We will be moving forward with the GST cut up to $50,000 on homes up to $1 million.
Wow, that's great.
This is a huge opportunity for new home buyers, in addition to the income tax break that we are giving to 22 million Canadians. Those are affordability measures that will help first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Honourable member for York, Durham.
Own data paints a very different picture. A Canada where first-time homeowners can't hope to buy a home unless their parents owned one before them. In fact, over 40% of new home buyers relied on a gift or inheritance to make their first purchase. And the average amount of that gift, Mr. Speaker, was $74,000. That's not a small boost, Mr. Speaker. That's the only way in for people into the market now. Is the Minister of Housing content with a system where unless you're born rich, you'll die renting?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Speaker. Well, the member opposite seems to be ignoring the fact that there is a GST break coming for new home buyers, $50,000.
That's right.
This is nothing that was introduced by the members opposite. There were no measures like this. When I was the mayor of Vancouver for 7 years, there was no GST break from this government opposite.
That's right.
Those inactions by members opposite have led us into this crisis. This government will get us out of it.
Good answer. Very
Member for York Centre.
My North Toronto constituents cannot afford a home. After 10 years of the Liberals, house prices doubled, down payments doubled, mortgage payments doubled, and rents doubled. New home sales in Toronto are at a record low, lower than they were during the housing crash of the 1990s. But the Minister of Housing is on record saying he doesn't want to lower the price of housing. My question to the Minister, why does he think that young people should not be able to afford a home in the city of Toronto?
Great question. Honourable Minister.
Okay, Bobber, and I'm sorry, I kind of caught the last guy. Bobber, I know from Ontario and controversial stuff, but I agree with the guy. Yesterday he had some pretty good speeches, some words. Today he's calling on, I believe, him and the last speaker. Macaulay had some fun banter, good banter with the Prime Minister about the budget. And I think, honestly, the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, actually had some really good answers at it back. The one good he gave to him was that I know the difference between a budget and a forecast, or exactly the wording, I don't. But the budget or a forecast. And it's like, okay, that was funny. But this here, these last two questions, this is where the Conservatives are striking a tone. This is a federal problem. It's not a small part of the industry. America's ramping up oil in a way that will never happen in this country. They're opening up Alaska, which is as much oil, they say, possibly, as like Saudi Arabia. It's like, and they're opening up their parks. So the chances of us keeping up and expanding like that are not happening under a Liberal government, which looks at the consensus that of a lot of people in this country do not want oil. A lot. I'm very surprised by the numbers. Not just Quebec and BC, it's all the way across the country. Even in Alberta, which was even the biggest surprising. It's low numbers, but the housing crisis is the only possible, I believe, the only one that really strikes with me. The no budget, they have something. They have a there, right? Because he's attacking or going after the Prime Minister on financial matters, that's his beautiful beautiful thing on his resume. You know what I mean? United Kingdom, Canada, head banker. But to me, that's a little bit more, tongue in cheek, funny. The oil is isolated to Alberta, and every day, every week, every month, their argument gets weaker and weaker for oil. And it's happening so rapidly. The speed of EVs that are coming around is just unbelievable. I believe in 1 year's time, the EVs, they're going to be getting $1,000, for a $30,000 vehicle from Asia, of course. We'll be getting 1,000 kilometers on a charge, better than gas, not equal to, not parity, better than. And in 3 years, looks like it's going to be holy schmoly, you charge up once every 3 months kind of idea. Like, it's happening so rapidly. And as AI comes online, it's going to, everyone believes that it's going to happen faster as it takes over investment jobs. But these two last, I give them good points. And hey, the housing minister, he just got into his job. I don't feel envious of him. I hope he has a good exercise regime to get off that angst that's thrown at him every day, because it looks like it'll probably be there for years. It looks like the problem, at least according to what Carney said in interviews, and the way that I've extrapolated the two parallel lines of it's the Pythagoras theory. You follow the lines, and if they intersect, well, it's I'm thinking of the most likely 10 at the current plan, 10 years, unless something changes the trajectory, which is possible with $25 billion being put into the prefabricated home industry. I love homes. I like construction and homes and stuff like that, but it's unbelievably old system. And because we're losing money, I've found this is the most vile thing I found in commercial. You get inspectors. It's still inspected, but sometimes in boomtowns you don't. But as our less money is in our municipalities, as they get more underwater, more things slip along the wayside, and companies get away with not doing inspections. It's in the code. You have to inspect. A company should do it, and these companies, smaller companies of residential, they're just not doing it. They're just hoping. You know what I mean? They're doing a pray. Well, that's great for you know what I mean, in religion, going to your Sunday church, go pray. But we need a little bit more solidness when you're doing builds, and it's happening. It's not just around Toronto and everywhere. Everyone I've talked to said the same thing. They're like, yeah, no, we don't inspect houses as much, and they're just getting passed. They rely on the builder to do it, and then the builder just passes the buck to it was that guy. No, it's the company policy not to do proper inspection. And what it is, like in plumbing, you have to you have to test it for 15 minutes minimum at like triple the pressure of 550 kPa. You know what I mean? So you have to do these proper things, and you'll find it through area. You get it. Where companies are just not doing it, and then it's like, wow. It's okay. It's not that big, and it really isn't that big a deal when it happens. But it is a big deal because you should be able to do. It's been written down as code. I believe it should be followed. But as we lose money and as we cut corners, but the only way I think around this is this prefabricating, because we all know that factory work. There's engineer controls. There's mechanical controls, and then, you know what I mean, laws, whatever, other controls. 3 types of controls in a factory that are very hard to do outside of a factory setting, right? Just like a laboratory. Laboratory, you know what I mean? Go do a laboratory experiment outside in a thing. No, you have to have a building and this and that, or else you get Wuhan.
From the members opposite, for partnerships with the cities, with the communities, with Indigenous communities, provinces and territories, to be good partners as federal government and deliver affordability measures to make housing affordable in Canada.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Pontiac-Kitigan-Zibi. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know that during difficult times, the Canada Dental Care Plan can offer real support to seniors, but also families in my riding. Since the end of May, this program has been open to all Canadians earning less than $90,000 a year. So my question to the Minister of Health: can she update us on this latest phase of the program and what efforts are being made to make the program accessible? The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. She is correct. The dental care plan.
Chicopee Terrace, an apartment complex in Kitchener, are banding together to patrol their parking lot as the Liberal crime wave intensifies. Jason Souza, Jason Souza, the leader of the group, says that he and his neighbors have had the catalytic converter stolen out of their cars. So not only are car thefts up, but now they're stealing the parts out of the cars they don't take. I have a very simple question. This is not the Kitchener I grew up in. Why don't we go back to how it was?
Human trafficking. We're also introducing stiffer penalties for serious, violent, repeat offenders. Mr. Speaker, we are going to work with facts and reason. I hope when we advance these measures to help protect the communities, we garner the support of the Conservative Party.
Okay, and listen, I'm not a big fan of the Liberal legal policies of not dealing with the hard drugs and stuff like that. But I'm not a fan at all of the Conservative idea of just longer jail sentences. I think the biggest problem personally in Canada, it's organized crime, the framing of whatever. Hey, he's a bad person, so we're going to be able to do this. And the legal system not working as it should. That's number one. Police, the number one crime in Canada is online money theft. And the police, they've all said, RCMP, CSIS, all of them have said, we can't deal with it. It's beyond us. It happened around me close, like $900 was trying to take into account. And they're like, well, why would we call the police? They're not going to do anything. There's nothing, that's exactly where it is. That's it. But where it comes to personally, the idea that longer jail sentences, they've done the studies, and people that are in jail are the optimistic type of person, overly optimistic type. So it doesn't matter how long the sentence is. They're optimistic people. If you don't think you're going to get caught, you're going to do the crime, right? I'm happily not that. I got enough pessimistic attitude about myself. Humble is what it is I'm more a little bit humble, or been humbled when I was a kid. That I'm like, no. And I figured the best choice is to educate yourself or to get skilled at something. I try to get skilled at this. Of course, I'm not doing well, though I study every day to get better. The idea that longer jail sentences are doing anything but costing the taxpayer money, to me, is nothing. I'm thinking, and I'm an advocate for this, huge advocate. I know that the AI is the only AI that's that good is like in the militaries of the world. I don't even know if we have it, but we need an AI, I believe, that talks to people. Put someone into a decent, nice, like fenced-in home, I'd say fenced-in area, and have AI talk to them. all the time. Everywhere they go, there's a speaker talking to them, and the whole point of the AI is to wear them down of their thinking and to I want to say rewire, but rewire through speech, through repeated speech. We've know this. It works. It actually does work. At the same time, making sure the person is also, you know what I mean, you're monitoring that person to make sure that it's actually working. And then you have other outside forces and to assist, to encourage this. A lot of people that I found that what I would call life criminals, they had rough upbringing, and they just basically are a product of their environment, and they didn't even know that there was other environments out there. Right? And it's just sometimes it's just about treating someone nice, which someone who's been a victim of crime personally, it's a hard feeling to say, you know what, we got to be nice to that person to fix the problem. Ew, it sucks. But I'm more of a person who wants good results, and good results don't come with beating someone who's already been beaten their whole life. It's just to me, it's just, you know what I mean? It doesn't follow the my three laws. You know, unless it would work. But we know that it doesn't work. And it's like not just Canada studies, American studies, China, every study in the world says the harsher you treat someone, the harsher they will become. The reason why we have the Russian organized and these other crimes is they've been dealt with harshly. Very harshly in the gulags. They became very tough. You know what I mean? So if you want to stop it, you deal with them gently and nicely, and show them the better way. Show them the path. And also, when they get out, they have to actually have a path to getting a decent job and a home, right? If people don't see a path to getting a home, and that's basically the number one people, like getting a home, having a family, or the chance. It's not a lot of people don't want kids and stuff like that, but having a wife or a husband is not being able to see that in your future without having to do some quick money get rich scheme is a large factor in the car theft, right? If you're like, well, all I got to do is take 3 cars and I get my $70,000, or I don't know what they get paid for chop shops, but it just basically incentivizes crime. They said that crime was at its lowest, and this is why MAGA is working. And there was a lot of bad sentiment against people for their color of their and what religion they were back then, and I don't want to see that. But the one good part about it was that someone knew who I can get a factory job, and for 3 months hunker down, 3 to 6 months hunker down, and save enough money in those 3 months, not go out or anything, to buy a home and get my own home, right? And so when some devil, right, we'll call him, would come and ask them or try to lean them into doing crime, they were like, no. The majority of people, we're talking like 99, a lot lower, besides the crime of passion, which, can be dealt with showing the Jesus path or Jewish path or Muslim path, Hindu path, Buddhist path. But they basically were like, no, because they seen without a required imagination, no, I know the things that I want in life are easily enough obtained that I don't have to resort to any of that. So it's easy to resist the darker elements. As these goals become, like the guy said, $75,000. They said over 40% of people are getting $75,000 from a family to own a home. I know myself. In the Niagara region. No, I'm moving out of here as soon as I can, and most likely to the Maritimes or whatever, where homes are reasonable pricing, and you know what I mean. Maybe fly in, fly out jobs just to support. It's not what I want. It's not what my goals are. But I just don't see the need in $300,000. I looked, $300,000 for a home that was like a destroyed home. It had partial fire in it. That's the cheapest in the Niagara Falls area. So it's not a feasible To me, it doesn't make sense to me. It's out of, you know what I mean? Unless I get a, huge bunch of money. Even so, the system has, I believe, inclined towards people, and I'm so much more, I believe in I'll die poor than be a criminal. I don't care about this stuff that much. But it's incentivized criminal activity and trying to stop this fentanyl crisis when basically there's a lot of people thinking, hey, well, I just got to sell this stuff and kill 10 of my friends, or whatever. I don't know but there's a lot that are going. It's more. This is the war to get a home. That's where we're at right now, and it's, to me, is like. It's a disgusting country where we're leading, and it's basically helping the West fall faster, whereas because a lot of people, they haven't been shown the path. They're generational into this something, and you give them a proper education and a easy path, a decent way to a proper education, and a reasonable path to a home and a family. They're all going to stop it. But we're actually at a point in this country where I think we're on the teetering point, and personally I believe that we've teetered past the point, and it may not return. And this is why I support Trump, though I abhor a lot of what he does. He actually is fighting tooth and nail, skin and bone, to bring back where people see the reason to turn away from crime easily. Be like, no, of course not. Of course not. I wouldn't want to sell drugs and hurt the people I know around me, right? Because they know if you give someone this stuff, they're most likely addicted. One-time use, they have to have a very large battle to fight it, and this idea of just starting to jail people, it's not actually fixing the problems of society. It's actually exasperating them worse. Because as I said earlier. Basically, jail. The way I see it is, I call it crime school. I don't know many people who've gone to jail. Only when I was in my youth, my high school years, before I got the flock out of here the first time. People came out and they were worse, not better, worse. To the point where I don't have much fear. That's probably my biggest problem. But they actually came out, and at first when they came out, they were like, ugh, no, I'm not hanging around with that person anymore. Subscribe. Let's listen to what they have to say. I don't know. I'm just talking to myself, it seems. But whatever.
The honourable member for Edmonton, Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, during the election campaign, people at the doors told me they are fed up with crime. With violent crime up 50%, many folks are afraid to walk around in their own city. This year, Edmontonians were shocked when a 13-year-old boy was stabbed to death at a transit station. People know this chaos is a direct result of the Liberals' soft-on-crime laws. So when will the Prime Minister stop the crime, lock up the criminals by repealing Trudeau's Bill C-5 and Bill C-75?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, obviously, when you hear the details of our horrific crime as a member has shared, this is not a partisan issue. All members of this House care equally about the well-being and safety of Canadians and believe that Canadians should feel safe in their communities. What's clear, though, is the member has not even read the legislation that he criticizes in this House, for if he did, he would know that he's advocating to make it easier for people who commit intimate partner violence to get out on bail. Mr. Speaker, it's important we deal with details and facts in this House. I encourage the member for once to read the legislation before he forms an opinion.
The honourable member for Abbotsford South Langley.
Mr. Speaker, as I rise for the first time in the House, I thank the good people of Abbotsford South Langley for placing their trust in me. Soft-on-crime Liberals have caused havoc in my community. The family and law enforcement I met during the election are frustrated with seeing offenders released quickly only to reoffend. Last week in Vancouver, a man was charged with sexually assaulting a teenage girl while he was already on